Hello, it's Jay here again and welcome to another tutorial. So we're going to begin work on the player movement in this lesson, but before we do, I just want to do a couple of things first. So let's open the one player manager. And as you know, in the last lesson we had too many characters loading into the scene, so let's just quickly fix that now. So I'm coming into the void load player one character, and this must go right at the top of the function. We're going to say if open and close brackets, inside those brackets player one character does not equal null. So into the comments we'll say if player one character is not equal to null. We'll come to the next line and we'll return, close that line off, our normal comment, then do nothing and return. So if the player one character is equal to null, it will read the rest of the code, at which point the player one character now is not equal to null because it's equal to a game object, and then if it tries to read through the rest of the code again, because now it is not equal to null, then we just return. So with that done, let's close that script down. Let's come to the opponent manager, and I'm going to come to the void start, and the same thing again, we're going to cut everywhere where we return robot black, white, red, or whatever you've named your characters. Let's cut that out of the void start, and I want this to refresh when we try and load an opponent. So I'm coming in and I'm pasting it again right at the very top of the function into the void load current opponent. So let's save that off, and with that done we can close that script as well. And now we're going to create a C# script, and we'll just call this player one movement. And let's open this script up. So we're only going to get a few things in place in this lesson, but we'll continue on, and we're going to begin with creating a public and of type animation clip. We'll give this a naming convention of underscore player one idle, and I'm just going to put anim for animation. Into the comments, create slot in inspector to assign player one's idle animation. Now I'm going to come below, and this can be of type private. We don't need to see this in the inspector, so private animation, we'll give it a naming convention of player one, and we'll just say anim actually, and into the comments, so we'll say defines naming convention for the player ones, and we'll just say animation component. And we're going to come below here, private enum, and we'll give this a naming convention of player one state. So let's open and close brackets, and now we can come just above, and again this can be of type private. We don't need to see this in the inspector. We'll call that naming convention, so player one states, well, not call it, but we'll use that naming convention, so player one states, and then we'll define its name as underscore player one states. Let's close that line off into the comments, and similar to last time, defines naming convention for the player ones and we'll just say states. Then we'll come inside the enum, and we're just going to create one state for the time being. So player 1 idle. Because this is the first, but it's also the last one for now, no comma on the end. And yes, computationally speaking, it is better to put these, or to put numbers at the end of these lines in the enum. But because we're going to be building this script up in layers, I'm going to come back and do that at a later date. So if any of you wondering why I haven't put numbers in at this point, I will be doing just later. So with that said, let's come to the void start. And the first thing we need to do is select player 1 anim, and we'll make that equal to get component, open and close brackets, inside the brackets, and of course it's going to be our animation. Come to the end of the line, we'll open and close brackets again, we'll close that line off into the comments, and we'll just say underscore player 1 anim is equal to the, and we'll just say animation component. In fact, we'll leave that for now. And let's come here below the void update, and we're going to create of type private IEnumerator player 1, and we'll just call this FSM. We'll open and close brackets, we'll open and close again. So with that in place, we'll come to the void start again, we'll start core routine, open and close brackets, close that line off, inside the brackets, little quote marks, speech marks, and we'll just copy and paste that naming convention into the comments. So we'll say start, we'll just hit paste, player 1 FSM function. So let's come inside this function and we'll say while, open and close brackets, open and close again, switch, open and close brackets, open and close again. Now we'll come inside this first set of brackets and it'll be while true. And what we want to switch is the player 1 state, so we'll use that naming convention with the underscore. And with that in place, let's come inside this set of brackets now. And what we're going to say is case, and we want player 1 states dot player 1 idle. And we want a full colon this time to close the line off. And let's just come below here just before the last closed bracket, and we will create that function. Private void player 1 idle, open and close again. We'll paste that in below there, open and close brackets. We can close the line off, semicolon this time, break, semicolon again. And we want to yield return null. And close that line off. Because we're not returning a numerical value. So we'll create the debug log in player 1 idle. And we'll just copy and paste that naming convention in. So let's have a look at what we've done so far. And I like putting the lines where I actually call the animation into separate functions. Now you do not have to do this. You can put the line where we call the animation into this function if you wish. But I like moving them out, and I like having them all in one block of code all together, well, into multiple functions, but all together as one block at the end of the script, but that's entirely up to you. It's a personal preference. It's not going to make any real difference to the way the script works. In fact, it won't make any difference to how the script works. It's just personal preference because I think it looks neater. I think it makes the code easier to read through. And I'm just going to change this to player one idle anim. Let's change that debug log. And we'll call that function player one idle anim, open and close brackets, close the line off. And I think this, obviously it may look strange because we've only got one line in this function at the moment. Why do it this way? But once we actually start to get more code into these functions, and yes, there will be more code for this function at a later date, that's why I like to do it. But as I said, whichever you prefer. So call player one idle anim function. Now, because we're getting the animation component here and we're making it equal to this naming convention, we can actually just use this naming convention to call for the animation component. So underscore player one anim dot, and then we want to crossfade, open and close brackets, close that line off inside the brackets, and then the animation we would like to call, which in this case is the idle. So let's paste that naming convention in, and we'll say crossfade in the, we'll just say idle animation. I think that's all we need for that line, and let's save that off there. So let me have a look. We've got two red errors. Oh, I do apologise. It should be play one idle anim dot name. And forgive me, it's one of them things that I sometimes forget, but we all have those moments. So let's just fix that. So yes, inside the brackets, play one idle anim dot name. And I think we're going to leave it here for this lesson. Now, of course, you will want to come to each one of your player models and you'll want to attach the script and then assign the idle animation. So let's have a look. I'll assign that one for now. I think I've got some more idle animations that are compatible with this model, but I'll sort them out for the next lesson. But there we go. So we'll also assign it in the animation component, and we'll enter it in there as well. And that's it. I think we'll leave it here for this lesson, and we'll pick this up in the very next video. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope to see you next time, and until then, as always, bye for now.